We mic'd up? Okay, everyone get settled, please. Say Shailene Woodley's here, and we're going to be ready to go. We're going to get ready. We're all set, Mike. You can grab a bite if you want.
No, I thought sorry.
Okay, Shailene Woodley's here. Come on up. Okay, thank you for joining us. And we're going to start right over there. Here we go. Okay.
Are you enjoying the wallpaper and the like?
Shailene, hi, over
Hey.
stage left. And there have been a few references in this press conference to another dystopian movie about an empowered young woman. And
Ferngully?
and there was
That must be what you're talking about.
there was a report online actually that Jennifer Lawrence urged you to take this role, and I'm wondering if that's true, and you can speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we had one conversation. I still have yet to meet Jen, which is kind of funny because I'm talking about her so much right now. But yeah, I sent her an email and I was just curious, she'd gone from doing indie films to doing Hunger Games, which is a giant film, obviously. And I wondered if it had changed her life in positive ways, if she was happy with her decision, if just sort of what that looked like, because I had zero reference to what a studio film would feel like in my personal life. So I asked her, and she said, yeah, don't do anything stupid, don't do drugs, and don't make a sex tape, and don't go to Whole Foods the day the movie opens. And other than that, you'll be fine. She was like, there can be some hard things that come with a decision like this, but the amount of beauty and positivity that come with it will transcend any of the other situations.
Okay. Can you identify yourself for you? We give all of us before we just make sure she knows. Go ahead.
Okay, what are you saying? What?
We'll just go around and say names.
Say what? Hi.
Hey.
I'm trying to find out if you feel that you're very much like her, and how are you different? I mean, I'm sure you're like her in many ways, because I know you can be tough and everything when
like
you have
Triss?
to. Yeah,
or
like
Jen?
Triss. How are you like Triss, and how are you think you're very, very different?
Oh wow, that's a good one. A lot of who Triss is resonated with me, because I felt like when I was her age, maybe 17, 18, I was sort of going through the struggle of I was raised by two psychologist parents who are the most beautiful, selfless people I've ever met. And so compassion and empathy were two things that as a young child were ingrained into my system, which is such a lovely gift because I feel like those are two lessons that often don't get learned till later on in life. But as a teenager, I was like, my struggle was how do I balance being empathetic and being compassionate towards my peers and also living my life for myself and not basing my decisions on those around me and really live a life that I receive my happiness from my own experience rather than from people pleasing or whatnot. And so Trish sort of goes through that as well. She was raised in a society where she had to be, or in a faction where she had to be selfless, and yet she joins this other faction, which is all about sort of being selfish, and she has to find the balance between that. So I feel like I went through something similar, so that's how I relate to her, as well as just being a very strong, empowered woman. I feel very strong, and I live my life with a lot of integrity based on what I want for my life and who I am, and I think Trish is similar. As far as being different, Trish has really long hair, and is blonde, and I don't anymore, so I guess that's a difference. I don't know. That was an awful joke. I don't know. I feel like we're actually very similar. I don't think there's a lot of differences between us.
I was just Angela Dawson, Front Row Features.
Hey.
And I was going to ask you, there's a little anecdote in here about you going on this little survivalist journey just on your own, not even related to preparing for this film or anything. And I was just wondering for you, what did you get out of that? And, how long do you think you could make it on your own?
Survive? I hope a long time. This earth is exciting and there's so many things happening. I mean, survival skills. I started studying indigenous cultures a few years ago, and I was really inspired by their lifestyles and the way that they lived. And part of that was knowing how to survive in the wild and knowing how to heal themselves from the plants that grew around them. And that's how I became interested in wilderness skills. So I started studying herbalism, and I started studying edible plants that existed in the wild. And then I realized, like, okay, cool. So I know how to make fire out of sticks, and I know how to build shelter, but I live 90% of my life in an urban environment. So these skills aren't really going to help me because there aren't trees that grow in Los Angeles that I can just take a branch and make fire out of, because that wood isn't conducive for that. So I started learning urban survival skills. Like, if something, during Hurricane Sandy, I had a friend who was living in New York, and for a week she was like, I didn't have any water for a week, and I didn't know what to do. We sort of freaked out, and we were standing in lines for hours just to get a bottle of water. And that was sort of terrifying to think, like, oh wow, everything, it's easy right now. You turn on the shower, you do whatever, but especially right now with the drought in California, right? There's so many resources that we're depleting so quickly. And so I thought it would be an interesting skill set to have, to know if something were to go down, or even if it weren't. It's not like post-apocalyptic sort of idealism. It's more just like a fun hobby. What would I do if A, B, and C were to happen? It's kind of fun.
Hi, Jamie Philbrick. I'm Rogue.com.
Hey.
You work with two great seasoned actresses in this film, Ashley Judd and Kate Winslet. What was that experience like for you, and what did you learn from them as an actress?
It was amazing. I mean, Ashley and I we're both sort of very kindred spirit, and Kate as well. So we sort of all connected on that level. But one thing that I thought was so neat about them is they're both so empowered. Like, they're both women. They are like a woman among women, and strong, and live their life with integrity. And also, one thing that I found so profound about both of them, but specifically with Kate, just because we talked about it so much, was that she loves the art of acting. She loves being on a movie set. She shows up early. She knows her lines. She shows up with questions to ask the director to enhance the movie, to bring about more awareness to certain situations. She's never in her trailer. She lives, whether it's hanging out with the actors or hanging out with the craft service dude or the transpo guys. She's just a citizen of the set. And as obvious as that may seem, I feel like a lot of actors, sort of 2 hours after you get there, already complaining about being there, and you're like, well, then why don't you go do something else? Like, we're kind of lucky to have this life and do what we do. And Kate fully knows that, and so she brings this sense of enthusiasm and excitement to a film set, which is so special and seems so like it should be obvious and that everyone should do that, but that's just generally not the case.